A teenage runaway is found dead from an overdose near a known drug user's haunt, and fingerprints on the syringe suggest she was murdered. Mickey and Joe are on the case, but find something bigger and more sinister. The Bill, part 1 of 2, tonight at 8.
Good morning. Welfare shake-up. Plans to get tougher on benefits are criticised as a waste of time.
Out by June, Britain is planning to withdraw most of its troops from Basra within the next 6 months.
And back with a bang. Didier Drogba keeps Chelsea in Europe. That's what we're talking about on the News Hour today. It's Wednesday, the 10th of December, 2008.
Hello, good morning. You're watching the News Hour. It's just gone 6 o'clock. We'd love to hear your thoughts on those changes to state benefits. That would make most people either look for work or perhaps go on some training scheme. Tell us what you think. Let us know what your thoughts are by texting us 67890. Text costs 25p plus your standard network charge. Full terms can be found at gm.tv/terms.
Also this hour, hard times hit Toy Town as prices of playthings plummet.
And with Bookie's favourite, Alexandra, can she come up with the goods for the X-Final Factor? The X-Factor Final! We'll get there in the end. We'll be joined by some of her family who can hopefully express themselves rather better than me this morning.
First, though, Andrea's here with the weather.
John, you've always got the X-Final Factor for me.
Ah, you so sweet. That's revived my confidence. I'm okay now. Thank
All right,
you.
good. A little moment. Good morning. A cold start yet again across the country. Many places waking up under clear skies, so it will look very pretty, but could well be a little bit slippery underfoot and be quite frosty as well. We've got some showers around, as you can see, falling across eastern parts of Scotland, also parts of eastern England. Some of those could well turn rather wintry over the hills, so it will feel a little bit nippy to begin with through today. What we will see is most places enjoying clear skies, but again those showers continuing across eastern parts. The wind's still fairly keen in some areas, so it will feel very, very cold indeed across the whole country, but especially so across Scotland. Priya.
Andrea, thank you. Our top story this morning, people on benefits, including single parents, could lose money unless they do some form of work or prepare themselves for finding a job in the future. Ministers will reveal details of major changes in the welfare system later today, but some Labour backbenchers are already threatening to rebel against the plans. Well, Jonathan Swain is in Rochdale for us this morning. Jonathan.
Morning, Prue. It all sounds very tough, doesn't it? For some people, though, it's not tough enough. James Pennell, the Work and Pensions Minister, says he wants to change society where those people who are on benefits, if they're not looking for work, will simply lose them. Well, this estate here in Rochdale is where I've spent a lot of time this year, and there's almost 80% of the residents here are living on some kind of benefit. Now, I've spoken to many families here, many parents here, who say that living on benefits is just a way of life, and many children who've brought up here simply have never seen their parents or their carers do a day's work in their life. Well, under these proposals, both parents with children over the age of 7 will have to find work or lose their job seekers allowance, which could amount to some £94 a week. Well, also people on incapacity benefit are also being targeted, as well as single mums. And those people who are on incapacity benefits, well, they'll have to medically prove that they cannot work, otherwise they'll lose their benefits. At the moment, too many people slip through the system. Well, the Minister, James Pennell, is certainly talking tough.
They have to do something in return for their benefits, something to address skills problems or deal with debt or drugs problems.
Well, in reality, trying to find work, Priya, may only amounts to simply going to a centre once a week and trying to update your CV, so not necessarily actually trying to get a job.
OK, Jonathan, thank you.
We'll be talking further about that throughout this morning's programme. Right now, let's catch up on the rest of the news. Here's Michelle.
Thanks, John. Good morning. British troops could be out of Iraq by next summer, according to reports this morning. The withdrawal is likely to begin in March, with the timetable expected to be confirmed early next year. The Ministry of Defence says significant progress has been made in Basra, where the majority of the 4,000 British troops are based. Energy companies could face legal action unless they lower fuel bills, according to Energy Secretary Ed Miliband. He's threatening new legislation unless they come up with a fairer pricing structure. Ministers are said to be particularly concerned about families on prepayment meters who can pay £100 a year more than direct debit customers. There's been a steep rise in the number of people being taken to court for failing to return tax credit overpayments. According to figures obtained by the Liberal Democrats, they're calling for urgent changes to the payment system.
They were introduced to help struggling families, but for many, tax credits have become the thing that's kept them awake at night. From the very beginning, those claiming said the paperwork was too complicated and thousands ended up being overpaid without knowing. And new figures today indicate the situation is getting worse. Last year, 1,000 people were taken to court for not paying back overpayments. But in the first 6 months of this year alone, that figure rocketed to 5,500. That's 5 times more.
I've seen an indication that more cases are being taken through the court route, but actually the numbers involved are surprising. Even I'm not getting my head to grips with exactly how many people are affected by this.
The Lib Dems say the whole situation is unacceptable. Instead of claimants having to fill out forms every time their circumstances change, they would like to see a system of fixed payments for 6 months at a time. That, they believe, would put an end to the constant worry and the sleepless nights.
Plans to build and refurbish more than 3,000 traditional playgrounds are to be outlined by the government today. The multi-million-pound play strategy is designed to make public spaces more child-friendly. Local planners will be encouraged to give the go-ahead to extra parks, adventure playgrounds and sports pitches.
It's really good news to be investing at this difficult time in the economy, but investing in something which will be fun for kids, will be really popular with parents, and I want to see this happening right across country in the next few months.
Jim Carrey's new film has received its world premiere in London. Yes Man is based on a best-selling book about a man whose life is transformed by saying yes to everything, as Ailsa Gray reports.
So they asked me if I wanted to go and see the new Jim Carrey movie, and the answer, oh man, yes!
Do you want to make a covenant? The word is yes, Carl.
The film may be more of a comedy than an action flick, but its star still managed to break 3 of his ribs during filming.
I was doing a little pratfall in the bar scene, and somehow my mind changed in the middle of it, and I decided to get all my limbs up into the frame, and I came down hard. But you know what? The first thing I did, I'm kind of an ex-gamer of comedy, so I walked over to the video thing and I said, let me see that back.
The stars of the movie arrived on an open-top London bus. British writer Danny Wallace was there too. Why? Because the film is all about him.
Although they've reset it and, you know, there's a few different things here and there, the more I watch it, the more I see the similarities, you know, the kind of the things with me and my friends, and me and my missus here, Mrs. Yes, all things like that. So it's an extraordinary thing.
The film is released on Boxing Day.
Right, let's take a look at what's on our website this morning. Norway's topped a list of the world's most expensive countries. Find out the top 10. We reveal why many workers feel the pressure to hit the bottle at the Christmas party. And join Andrea for her farewell webcast at 9:30. All that and more at gm.tv. The time is at 8 minutes past 6. Back now to John and Priya.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Let's have a quick look at today's papers, starting with the broadsheets. Story on the front of the Guardian and on the front of the Independent, as well as I think on a few of the tabloids as well. Assisted suicide to be shown on TV. This is a programme on tonight, which actually shows the dying moment, the moment this guy dies, doesn't it? So we're going to be talking about that in a short time. Front of the Times, picture of 2 children in Harare collecting water. This is talking about the cholera epidemic. It's ravaging a population weak with hunger. Also a bit more about that story on assisted suicide. And front of the Daily Telegraph, pill on demand without seeing a doctor. This is a story that women are to be given the pill straight from the chemist without need for prescription. I'm going to be talking to Hilary about that in a very short moment time. And also Crisis on Broadway, 15 shows to close in the next few weeks.
2 papers I have also feature that documentary on Sky TV tonight, Suicide TV. Man helped into his death as the cameras roll. As a headline there. Front page of the Daily Mail devoted to the same story. Front page of The Sun features the man embroiled in the Shannon Matthews case. apparently out of jail, but only on his way to hospital to have a broken jaw fixed. His jaw was broken by a fellow inmate, according to the Sun. He'll be back in jail soon. And on the front page of the Daily Express, cheaper home loans to last. That's mortgage rates now the lowest for 2 years, according to the Daily Express. Well, last night saw some Champions League action from some of the big hitters. Good news for Chelsea and Liverpool. Let's just have a look at the back page of the Daily Express this morning. Drogba back with a bang is their headline. I think Paul Elliott, my guest, will concur with that. He made a difference, didn't he?
Absolutely, John. The daddy returns.
Yes, absolutely.
He brought the bread home. It was a fantastic performance by Drogba. I have to say, his impact was instant. As soon as he came on the field, I mean, he says, I'm playing centre forward, but this was the first goal by Kalou. Good first touch, sweeps it high into the net. And it's Chelsea up and away. This is an outstanding finish by Conley. Got the wrong side of Alex. They're a quality outfit, John. Come from Tasmania, but this was Drogba's goals. Great first touch, stunning finish.
Yeah.
Johnny, he was absolutely fantastic. He bullied, he muscled, his technical ability, his physical presence. Yeah. And when he come on, he's like you were saying to Anelka, I'm centre forward, you're playing out there. Yeah. And he was fantastic, Drogba.
So they might have stuttered on the way, but they got there in the end.
It wasn't vintage Chelsea, but you know what it's like,
no,
John?
imagine previous rounds, they were a bit...
Absolutely, but also, John, the hallmark of a top side is when you're not playing well, you're getting positive outcomes, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, Liverpool went behind, but boy, did they take the opposition apart later on, I gather.
Emphatic. Absolutely comprehensive, and the manner of it was impressive. This was the first goal. Mascherano, Lazaric obviously scores at the near post there. Mascherano didn't quite get tight enough to him remarking, but this was a revival. Headed by Babel, sweeps it high into the net. Excellent finish, levels of scoring. But this one, John, Rieva, absolutely exquisite strike. 35 yards, John, high into the top corner. And then a fantastic pass by Keane. Yes, and Engel, a real calm, composed finish. 3-1, Liverpool going as winners of the group and flying, John.
Congratulations to them. Manchester United and Arsenal in action tonight. Both of them are through. It's a question of whether they can... Well, Arsenal can finish. They can both finish. Could finish top of the second.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well done, John.
Yeah, could finish. Depends on the results,
yeah, but I think we'll be OK. Arsenal can get a draw. Manchester United need to get the same outcome as Villarreal, which I think they will. So I think that the four Premiership sides look very comfortable.
Yeah, Celtic are playing tonight, but of course, sadly, they're up against Villarreal. Let's move on to something rather more controversial. Hampshire Police have released pictures of 16 Tottenham fans they want to trace over indecent and homophobic chanting directed at Portsmouth's Sol Campbell at a game on September the 28th. These are the images they're asking you to look at and see if you can know any of these people, and if you do, they want you to get in touch with them. What's your reaction to that? I know you're very concerned about
Positive. As you know, John, one of the key agencies I represent is a Kick It Out. You know, we've long chanted that, John, there has to be zero tolerance. Now names are being brought to the table. They must be fully investigated, zero tolerance and full enforcement of the law applied if they are found guilty, which is, for me, banning from stadiums. Has to be life bans.
Anywhere in the country?
Absolutely, John.
Or indeed anywhere in the world, hopefully.
Should not be allowed into a stadium again.
Yeah. And it's as bad as that. I mean, some of these people will argue, oh, it's only a bit of fun, it's only a bit of banter, it goes on all the time.
Well, John, there's a line of what is acceptable. I know, John, of course, but there's a line to say what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, and that is totally unacceptable. Any homophobic or any chanting about racism because of somebody's sexual orientation or the colour of their skin is totally 100% unacceptable in any stadium, let alone in society.
Well, let's hope the police get the response they want.
Thank you
very much, Paul.
Next this morning, women will soon be able to pop into a pharmacy to pick up the contraceptive pill without a prescription from the doctor. It's going to be piloted in 2 areas before being rolled out across the UK if it's successful. The aim is to reduce the number of unwanted pregnancies. Well, the first pill, called Enovid 10, was made available in the UK in 1961. Between then and 1969, the number of women using it rose from 50,000 to 1 million. The pill has always been dogged by controversy, ranging from health problems to religious and moral objections. But still, the numbers of women taking it have risen. And now, in June this year, nearly 4 million women in the UK and 60 million worldwide were taking the pill to control fertility. Well, joining us now on the sofa is Dr. Hilary to talk a bit more about it. 4 million women in the UK taking it, 60 million worldwide. That's a lot of women taking the pill,
Sure.
but I'm guessing the availability of it in chemists is going to worry a lot of people.
I think people will have reservations, and this is a pilot scheme that's being embarked upon. But, you know, I think women want their contraception in a place that is convenient for them, at a time that's convenient for them, without delay. And if it's done in a responsible way by a healthcare professional, it really doesn't matter whether it's a doctor or a nurse or a trained pharmacist.
I suppose the main worry people are going to have is that maybe this is going to make it easier for under-16s to get the that could get contraception?
In the pilot scheme, that's not going to happen. There are other issues there that need to be discussed. I think certainly if you're talking to a girl who's under 16, there are issues that need to be addressed. That would require some ongoing counselling that might not be appropriate in a pharmacy. But I think for other women who've already been prescribed the pill in the past, who understand the implications, who are having their blood pressure checked regularly, I think the convenience issue, the access issue, at the end of the day, if this saves unwanted pregnancies but doesn't jeopardise safety, I think it has to be a good thing, and it's certainly worth looking at, which is why we're piloting it.
And so, when you go to the doctors at the moment to get the pill, you get blood pressure check and all that. Is that going to happen if you go to the pharmacist after it as well?
Yes, so the pharmacist will be highly trained, particularly for this purpose in these pilot schemes. They have their consultation room in the pharmacy. They will want to talk to the woman about her needs, about her health, about her previous medical history, because obviously that's important with the oral contraceptive pill. Her blood pressure can be taken, and there's absolutely no reason that can't be done whilst she's at the chemist buying her shampoo and whatever else she needs to buy.
So it's just about making life easier.
And it's about making life easier, about making contraception, if it's appropriate, much more accessible.
You can also buy it online as well at the moment. I find that quite strange because then you don't get any of the health checks, do you?
Exactly. And this is one way that there is an element of control that is retained by a healthcare professional. You can buy it online. You can have online consultations. Now, some people say...
But who are you consulting with?
Well, exactly. You would be consulting usually on the net with registered pharmacists like that online. They have to be regulated in this country, but you can obtain almost any medication online, and the internet isn't regulated, and that's the danger of buying anything online. I mean, there are some pills where only 1 in 10 of the pills contain the ingredient that you think is in there, so that is a risk. But if you're going to a pharmacist or a healthcare professional, nurse, pharmacist or doctor, then at least you're getting really good guidance and care that is regulated and authorised.
So much safer, and hopefully will reduce unwanted pregnancies
Absolutely.
as well.
That's the aim of it.
Hilary, thanks very much.
Thanks.
Time now 60 minutes past 6. You're watching the News Hour on GMTV. These are the headlines you're waking up to this morning. Ministers will reveal details of major changes in the welfare system today. People on benefits could lose money unless they do some form of work or prepare themselves for finding a job in the future.
British forces are expected to start pulling out of Iraq by next March, according to a senior defence source.
And energy companies could face legal action unless they lower their fuel bills. The Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, is calling for a fairer pricing structure. Still to come on the News Hour, talking to the Liberal Democrat leader about the huge rise in families being taken to court to reclaim tax credit overpayments.
Also, after the break, will the bookies' favourite triumph in the X Factor final? We're going to be talking to Alexandra Burke's nearest and dearest. All that to come.
Welcome back. As you may have heard, thousands of people will lose their right to benefits if they don't agree to do some form of work or training under plans to be announced by the government today. The controversial new plans for the reform of the welfare state will also affect single mums and those on incapacity benefit, who will see state benefits that they receive come with certain conditions. We're joined now by single mother of 5 and grandmother of 1, Lynn Fahy, who survives on benefits, and mother of 2, Debbie Clegg, who's also on benefits and has been for the last 6 years. Thank you very much indeed to the two of you for joining us. Let me kick off with you, Lynn. What's your gut reaction to this idea that single mums like yourself will have to either find some form of work or perhaps go on some form of training if they're to keep the benefits you receive at the moment?
It's simply not going to work, John. It's fundamentally flawed. We need to look at the whole system again. Not saying get your benefits for nothing, but maybe do some voluntary work that could be recorded in hours. You could match fund the government for your benefit money. But making single mums go into job centres where there's no suitable facilities for children isn't going to work. And where are we going to put the teenage children?
Well, you see...
Nobody can answer that. You go to the job centre and nobody can answer where the teenage children are going to go.
Once they finish school, you mean? Your children, I think I'm right in saying, are all of school age or above. Some people would argue,
yes.
Lynn, why can't you get a part-time job at least and still look after them?
We have, yeah, I agree with that, John, but we have 13-week school holidays. Where do we put the children in the holidays? We don't want to come to a system where we've got teenage children roaming the streets at all.
How old are your children, Debbie?
13 and 8.
Right, so they're of school age too. What do you say to those who respect your right and actually applaud you for wanting to bring your children up and be with your children, but at the same time they say, but hang on a tick, why should we pay for that?
Because we do a lot of voluntary work. We don't just stay at home. We fit our voluntary work around the children. We're there for them in the holidays. We don't want teenage children roaming the streets and potentially end up being bullied by other children because they know the homes are empty, parents are out at work.
I think I'm right in saying also, Lynn, that neither of you set out to be single parents. You've wound up through a variety of circumstances in that position. But do you not accept also that we as a nation cannot really go on in a situation where generation after generation of some families, not necessarily yours, some families just grow up thinking benefits are there to be had, we don't need to go to work?
Yes, John, I couldn't agree more with that. But there are many different types of single parents. You cannot tar us all or beat us all with the same big stick. And the government needs to listen to what we have to say first, because after all, we live this life.
Well,
with
we'll pass on
to James Purnell, he doesn't live the life that we actually live day to day.
Right, well, we're talking to James Purnell a little bit later on, and I'm sure my colleagues will put your thoughts to him. Thank you both very much indeed for being with us. Love to know what people at home think about... My pleasure. Love to know what people think about this one. Text to 67890, text costs 25p, plus your standard network charge. Full terms can be found at gm.tv/terms. Controversial one, that. Let us know your thoughts.
X Factor time now, and 3 years ago, Alexandra Burke was booted out of the X Factor before even reaching the studio stage. Well, now she stands on the brink of a £1 million recording contract. Here's Dave Mason with a reminder of her X Factor story.
There's one name everyone will remember from this year's competition, Alexandra Burke. From day one, she's been a strong contestant. With Cheryl Cole as her mentor, she's regularly gained high praise from the judges.
For the first time, England is going to have a girl like Beyonce or Whitney. You got everything.
Even a bad throat in week 2 didn't stop her gathering more fans and adulation.
You are world class.
I think that it propels this show into international standard.
And one of her finest moments came in recent weeks, a spine-tingling rendition of Beyoncé's Listen, earning a rare standing ovation and special praise from Simon.
Alex, you know, this is a British competition, and you make me very proud to be British. I've got to tell you.
As the nation's favourite, it'll be a shock if she doesn't win. But either way, this won't be the last we've heard of Alexandra Burke.
Well, someone who definitely thinks she has got the X Factor is someone pretty close to Alex. Close family friend, Auntie Angela. Not blood related, are you? But as good as family, aren't you?
Yes, certainly am. Certainly am part of the family.
How do you know Alex? How long have you known her?
I've known Alex now for about 14 years. I met her when she was 7 years old.
And you have come a very long way to see her, I understand. You flew in from Australia.
Yes, it was a surprise.
A surprise. Worth a surprise?
Oh, it certainly was. It certainly was. I decided to come and see her and support her because this has been her lifelong dream, and I had to be there.
How did you feel when you were sat there watching her? You've seen this is her dream since she's a little girl. How did you feel?
Oh, amazed. It's nothing. It's so special, and there's nothing better than to see someone actually living their dream and not having any fears and just going for it 100%. And that's what Alexandra's doing.
So when she was little, she must have done a song and dance routine in the living room in front of you. Did you spot then that she had star quality?
For sure, for sure. She was a natural performer. She used to call through, because I used to live with them when I first came through to London, and say, Auntie Angela, it's time for my concert, so can you come through to the lounge? So we used to sit down, myself and the entire family, and she used to get her siblings in as well, and we'd do the choreography and the singing, and she would be right there, front performance, and she was amazing. And back then we used to talk about it as a family and say, look at her, she's got star quality.
So it's family. I suppose it helps, though, doesn't it, that her mum's in the business? Do you think that's kind of helped guide her through it? And I suppose that's where she gets her talent from.
Yeah, I think it runs through her veins, definitely. I think her mum's been a wonderful support, and having the background of, you know, being a singer too, I'm sure she's helped her through.
And her sister Shanice is a makeup artist, and apparently she wants to be her makeup artist if she makes it big. So is it going to be like the Beyonce family? Is it going to be everyone in the family is going to get involved in the whole thing?
I would think so, yeah, definitely.
What about you? What's your role?
Oh, I don't know yet. I don't know yet, but she certainly does want me to be around.
And you're going to go this week, aren't you, obviously, in support?
Yes, I can't
How
wait.
are you feeling about this week?
Oh, I'm extremely excited. I can't wait to see her final performance for this show. And I think she's going to do extremely well.
Who do you think the main competition is?
Oh, that's a really difficult question. I think they're all contenders. They really are. They're all brilliant artists.
OK, we'll keep our legs, arms, fingers, everything crossed.
Yes, definitely.
Thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much indeed, by the way, for your texts and emails on the welfare reforms going to be announced by James Pinnell, Government Minister, a little bit later today. Kelly, I'm a single mum of 3 and my youngest daughter has autism. There's no specialist care around to cater for her needs. How am I supposed to go to work?
Yep, someone else has written in. They haven't left their name, unfortunately, but they say it's about time the government came up with a plan like this. It gets my vote. And
Dawn in Derby, the benefits agencies know who the real shirkers are. Some have never worked, leave single parents alone. They're raising children. And finally, Alison in Rotherham.
Yeah, Alison says, I was a single parent for years, but I worked my way around my children. People these days have it too easy.
So mixed reviews there. Keep them coming. Love to know your thoughts. Meantime, here's Andy with the weather.
Thanks very much, John. As it says, feeling rather cold. Let's take a look.
GMTV weather, sponsored by Nestlé Shredded Wheat. Shredded wheat and hot milk. They're a perfect winter warm-up.
Well, the frosty mornings continue. We may well have some rain by the end of the week, but for this morning, it's the clear skies that are causing the problems. Now, you can see here we do have some showers around. They're mainly just skirting down the east coast, so just coming into parts of East Anglia. You can see just clipping into eastern parts of Scotland, and we've also got some showers across western parts of Wales and into the southwest of England. Let's take a look and see how things are looking for this morning. We'll start off in the southeast, more or less clear skies, but there's those showers that I showed you just a second ago. Very, very cold to start off with. Most places are at freezing or just below. Where we've got the cloud across Scotland, things are a touch milder, but again, at 4 or 5 degrees still not terrifically warm. You can see around 2 degrees in Northern Ireland this morning with bits and pieces of cloud, and there's the showers as well, just skirting with the western parts of Wales and into the southwest as well. Much warmer, as you saw there, 6 degrees already in the Isles of Scilly. Now, for this afternoon, I think most places will enjoy fine, dry and bright weather. I think it will feel quite crisp and cold, but it will look very nice if you're heading out. Again, those showers continuing to peck away at those westernmost fringes of Wales and through into Devon and Cornwall. And we could well see the showers that you can see here across northeastern Scotland, northeastern England into East Anglia. They could well turn rather wintry. So over the North York Moors, again, over the fens of East Anglia, we could well see some wintry showers or two here. Part of the reason for that is the winds. Now, it's going to be a fairly breezy day across northeastern parts of Scotland and perhaps just down the North Sea coast. The wind's coming from a pretty cold direction, so it will make it feel extra raw if you are out and about today. Temperatures generally about 4 or 5 degrees, maybe a touch milder where we're seeing a little bit more in the way of cloud. Now, what will happen overnight tonight into the early hours of tomorrow is we'll continue to see these wintry showers, again, mainly across eastern parts of England and over the higher ground, but I think we will see problems as well. Under the clearer skies, freezing fog developing. That could well cause problems for drivers tomorrow morning. So this time tomorrow, we could well see a frosty, icy and quite a foggy start. Once that lifts, though, again, we'll see some clear skies. Again, continue to see those wintry showers mainly affecting eastern parts of Britain through Thursday, clearing on Friday, and that's when the rain arrives and temperatures start to peak up a little bit. Here's your summary. For your local 5-day weather update, visit our website, gm.tv.
Hello, good morning. 29 minutes past 6 is the time on Wednesday the 10th of December. You're watching the News Hour on GMTV. Still to come, at the moment a man dies in an assisted suicide will be shown on television tonight. Do we really need to see scenes like this?
Also, the number of people being taken to court to reclaim overpaid tax credits has rocketed. We'll talk to Lib Dem leader all about that.
And as toys are heavily discounted, we'll ask if this is the latest industry to be hit by the economic downturn. But first, people on benefits, including single parents, could lose money unless they do some form of work or prepare themselves for finding a job in the future. Ministers will reveal details of major changes to the welfare system later today. Jonathan Swain is in Rochdale for us this morning, and he'll explain why. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning to you, John. Well, on paper, this all looks great, doesn't it? And people watching this morning will perhaps say about time too. The biggest shake-up the welfare system since 1942. But you have to remember that living on benefits is a way of life for some people, and the government have an enormous challenge. I'm here in Rochdale, as you say, because on this estate, I spent a lot of time here over the summer and this year, and 80% or so of the residents are on some kind of benefit. Many children on the estate haven't seen their parents do a day's work in their lives. Now, there's similar estates, of course, right up and down the country, not just confined to Rochdale here. But under these proposals, both parents with children over the age of 7 will have to try and find a job or face losing their job seekers allowance, which amounts to around £94 a week. Well, single parents, they're also being targeted as well, and incapacity benefits will be scrapped completely. Well, later on today, James Pallal, the Minister for Work and Pensions, will outline his plans.
They have to do something in return for their benefits, something to address skills problems or deal with debt or drugs problems.
The reality, of course, John, just trying to find a job may only just amount to going to a job centre once a week and updating your CV or trying to find a childminder for your children. Similar schemes like the New Deal have been tried by the Labour government in the past. And when I've spoken to a lot of people on the estate here, they always seem to find a way around the system. They all seem to be one step ahead of the politicians, and I'm sure it's going to be no different this time around as well.
John, thanks very much indeed.
Time for this morning's other top stories now from Michelle.
Thanks, Priya. Good morning. British troops could be out of Iraq by next summer, according to reports this morning. The withdrawal is likely to begin in March, with the timetable expected to be confirmed early next year. The Ministry of Defence says significant progress has been made in Basra, where the majority of the 4,000 British troops are based. Energy companies could face legal action unless they lower fuel bills, according to the Energy Secretary Ed Miliband. He's threatening new legislation unless they come up with a fairer pricing structure. Ministers are said to be particularly concerned about the families on prepayment meters, who can pay £100 a year more than direct debit customers. The contraceptive pill is to be made available from pharmacists without the need for a GP prescription. Pilot schemes will go ahead next year in parts of London with high teenage pregnancy rates before being extended across the country. Sarah Moore reports.
It's used by around 4 million people in Britain, and soon the contraceptive pill will be easier to get hold of than ever. Already available at the click of a button online, users will now be able to get it straight from a pharmacy without a prescription.
It's not simply the case that one will be able to walk into a pharmacy and walk out with a pill. She will have to sit down for a consultation with a qualified pharmacist, who will also be able to perform routine medical checks like taking her blood pressure. If everything is then satisfactory, she'll be able to walk away with her pill.
The aim is to improve women's access to contraception to help reduce the number of unintended pregnancies. But critics say the pill does not protect against sexually transmitted infections, which are at epidemic proportions. 2 primary care trusts in London with the highest teenage pregnancy rates have been picked to pilot the scheme. If successful, it will be rolled out across the country.
Plans to build and refurbish more than 3,000 traditional playgrounds are to be outlined by the government today. The multi-million-pound play strategy is designed to make public spaces more child-friendly. Local planners will be encouraged to give the go-ahead to extra parks, adventure playgrounds and sports pitches.
Used to be investing at this difficult time in the economy, but investing in something which will be fun for kids, will be really popular with parents, and I want to see this happening right across the country in the next few months.
Jim Carrey's new film has received its world premiere in London. Yes Man is based on a best-selling book about a man whose life is transformed by saying yes to everything, as Ailsa Gray reports.
So they asked me if I wanted to go and see the new Jim Carrey movie, and the answer, oh man, yes!
Do you want to make a covenant? The word is yes, Carl.
The film may be more of a comedy than an action flick, but its star still managed to break 3 of his ribs during filming.
I was doing a little pratfall in the bar scene, and somehow my mind changed in the middle of it, and I decided to get all my limbs up into the frame, and I came down hard. But you know what? The first thing I did, I'm kind of an ex-gamer of comedy, so I walked over to the video thing and I said, "Let me see that back."
The stars of the movie arrived on an open-top London bus. British writer Danny Wallace was there too. Why? Because the film is all about him.
Although they've reset it, and there's a few different things here and there, the more I watch it, the more I see the similarities. The kind of the things with me and my friends, and me and my missus here, Mrs. Yes, all things like that. So it's an extraordinary thing.
The film is released on Boxing Day.
Right, let's take a look at what's on our website this morning. Norway's topped a list of the world's most expensive countries. Find out the top 10. We reveal why many workers feel pressure to hit the bottle at the office Christmas party. And join Andrea for our farewell webcast at 9:30. All that and more at gm.tv. Now, in America, 2 puppies have helped save a toddler lost in the woods. 3-year-old Jalen Thorpe from Virginia wandered off with a family pets and spent the night under a tree in freezing temperatures. When he was found the next day, he told his mum cuddling the puppies had saved him from the cold. Must be puppy love. The time is 6:36. Here's what's happening now where you are.
Thank you and good morning. The main stories here in the northwest now. The judge at the Rhys Jones murder trial is expected to finish summing up today. 18-year-old Sean Mercer denies killing the Liverpool schoolboy. 6 others also deny any involvement in the murder. The 11-year-old was shot on his way home from football practice last year. The mother of James Bulger says she can't let her 3 other children leave her side when she goes out in public. Speaking in an ITV documentary, Denise Fergus describes the effects a 2-year-old's murder is still having on her family. James was killed by Robert Thompson and John Venables in 1993.
Right down to the kids playing in the front garden, don't like them by the railings. I sit in that chair right by the window so I can watch them. It's a horrible thing that I've got to live with now if I go out shopping. One's 9, one's 10, Michael's 14, they've still got to stay by my side.
A special meeting will be held tonight following Wirral Borough Council's plans to axe public services. Last month it voted for a 6-week consultation period after announcing proposals to close libraries, leisure centres and an arts centre as part of a massive cost-cutting exercise. The controversial plans will be discussed at Wallasey Town Hall tonight. Bad language in Preston could soon become very expensive after the council announced plans to fine people caught swearing. Signs and banners will go up across the city today as part of a £20,000 campaign, but some say the plans infringe on their right to free speech. On to sport, and Liverpool came from behind to win 3-1 against PSV Eindhoven in the Champions League last night. Ryan Babel netted just before half-time, with Albert Riera's spectacular hit taking the Reds into the lead. David Nagog sealed the win midway through the second half. The result means Liverpool go through to the next round as group winners. Back home, Droylsden have kept their FA Cup dreams alive with a 2-2 draw with Chesterfield. Stockport lost 2-1 to Gillingham, and Tranmere went down by the same score in extra time. Now look at the weather. Here's John.
GMTV weather is brought to you by Olbus Inhaler. The power to breathe, whatever the weather.
Good morning. For my money, you know it's a smashing day today. There might be an odd fog patch around first thing, there might be an odd icy patch, but they'll go. And then there's plenty of sunshine, almost unbroken sunshine for many of us. But despite that, the winds in the north, it's never going to be too warm. Top temperatures, only 3 or 4 Celsius.
Thanks, John. I'm back in half an hour, but now we return to Priya and John at GMTV.
Welcome back. The time 6:39. A documentary to be broadcast tonight shows a British man dying at a clinic in Switzerland which helps people who want an assisted suicide. It's the first time a moment of death has been televised, and yesterday the parents of a paralysed rugby player, Daniel James, were told they would not face prosecution for helping him end his life because it would not be in the public interest. Well, with me now is Dr. Iski Gordon from the organisation Dignity in Dying. Thanks very much indeed for being with us. First of all, your reaction to this documentary, which is being shown on Sky TV tonight. A welcome way in which to open up the debate about this, or gratuitous sensationalism?
I think it's a very important debate which needs to be opened, and therefore I welcome the programme.
Do we need to see someone dying on television at the moment he dies?
I think that that's unnecessary, to be truthful. I think that the discussion prior to the macabre incident is a very good discussion, and I think that this is the debate which the country does need to have.
It's certainly being taken up. It's on several front pages this morning. That's the Daily Mirror Suicide TV, and also the Daily Mail says, shockingly tonight, it's shown on TV, but inside they present both sides of the argument as many people will want to. We also had this decision yesterday in the tragic case of this boy, Daniel James. The Director of Public Prosecution has taken the view it would not be in the public interest to prosecute those around him. You obviously concur with that.
Oh, very much so. I think that the whole issue about people who suffer and making this decision by helping a loved one go to Dignitas in Switzerland shouldn't be put under the additional strain of possibly being prosecuted.
So I think the Director of Public Prosecution took the view in this case that that Daniel was a very independent young man. He was perfectly capable of making a decision himself.
Yes.
And therefore it would not be in the interest of prosecute. In other cases, people would say, but hang on a tick, we may get a situation where someone's mind may be imbalanced for all sorts of understandable reasons, and they say they want this to happen. It wouldn't be fair to put that burden upon them, given their mental state at the time.
Well, I think there is a need to change the law in this country so that assisted dying becomes legal in this country. And the critical issue there is to ensure that we put in enough safeguards that that couldn't happen.
But how do you have safeguards that prevent a circumstance where, for example, and I may be making this slightly melodramatic, someone might want someone bumped off? I mean, there may be a financial interest involved.
Well, I think that if it's done through the general practitioner plus another doctor in somebody who's terminally ill. And I think that this is critical, that the person is determined in all good faith by the doctor to be terminally ill, suffering from cancer, for example, that under those circumstances, unbearable suffering by the patient would be recognised.
And you don't accept the argument that this is ethically the start of a slippery slope, nor the argument that in some cases, even terminally ill patients do recover to lead an almost normal life in many circumstances.
Well, I think that it becomes very important that respect is something that we remember, something that we really hold very tightly. And I think if somebody's terminally ill, in the knowledge of the doctors, it's highly unlikely that they will recover to lead what you call a normal life.
It's a very, very interesting subject. Thank you very much, Steve, for giving us the benefit of your views.
Thank you.
It's 6:43. You're watching the News Hour here on GMTV. This morning's headlines. Ministers will reveal details of major changes in the welfare system today. People on benefits could lose money unless they do some form of work or prepare themselves for finding a job in the future.
British forces are expected to start pulling out of Iraq by next March, according to senior defence sources this morning.
And energy companies could face legal action unless they lower fuel bills. The Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, is calling for a fairer pricing structure. Now then, whenever we talk about tax credits here on GMTV, we are always inundated with people who've been overpaid and are struggling to sort it out. So it'll come as no surprise then to hear that the number of families being pursued through the courts was 5 times higher in the past 6 months than the entire year before that. That's according to the Liberal Democrats. Speaking to their leader, Nick Clegg, in just a moment. First, though, here's Rachel Harrison.
Paula and her husband both work but are on low incomes. In 2003, they claimed for working tax credit, but after 18 months were informed they'd been overpaid by £4,000.
I can't meet this bill. I don't even agree that I caused it. We've gone through time and time the case of how it happened, and I shouldn't be having to meet this bill.
Paula, so frustrated by the system, set up Tax Credit Casualties, a support group for the millions of others in the same position.
More cases are coming to us where they're just saying, help, I'm being taken to court, this is the first thing I know.
Paula still can't afford to pay back the money and fears she too will end up another statistic.
We're joined by Nick Clegg, Liberal Democrats leader. It is a big rise, isn't it? 5,500 people now being taken to court compared, well, in the last 6 months, compared to just 1,000 last year.
Exactly. It's 5 times higher than the whole of the last year, just the number of people taken to court in the last 6 months. I think it's the height of cruelty at a time when so many families, particularly low-income families, are struggling to make ends meet, to drag them through the courts to pay back money which they thought was theirs.
But why are they being overpaid? What's wrong?
I think the system is totally incapable of dealing with people's changing circumstances. I mean, I've had young mothers in my office in my constituency in Sheffield in tears showing me these impenetrable letters, this kind of gobbledygook they get from the government, 5 pages of statistics which, I mean, you need to pay a fancy accountant to explain it to you. And these are mothers who are leading busy lives, trying to get their kids ready for school, trying to do to work, trying to hold down a job. To ask them to understand these 5-page letters from the Treasury and then tell them that they are guilty for not telling the Treasury how their circumstances have changed. I think it's a good idea, the tax credit system, which has been applied in an insensitive, inhuman and cruel way.
The fact is these people are being overpaid, so the money isn't theirs, so surely they have to pay it back, even though it's difficult. Well, it's not their money.
Well, let's just think what happens. Just imagine if you are a single mother, young kids, maybe one month you try and do extra shifts, you work extra late, just to earn a bit of extra money to give your kids a good birthday, a good Christmas, whatever. Suddenly the system says you've got to tell people exactly, you've got to tell the Treasury exactly how your circumstances have changed, which extra shifts you've done, and pay the government money back. But maybe the next month you might have extra childcare costs, maybe you'll do fewer shifts, so it kind of balances out. So what we're saying is, firstly, make the system easier to understand, give people a letter in human language, not in this bureaucratic gobbledygook. But secondly, just give people a fixed award over 6 months. Don't try and fiddle it around every week and every month.
If you do it over 6 months, you yourself just said a second ago that things change from month to month. So if you do it over 6 months, doesn't that just complicate it even more?
No,
because
it doesn't.
Then at the end of 6 months,
giving...
you might have a bigger deficit than you would at the end of a month.
No, because then a family would know, or a young dad or a young mum would know, that after 6 months they've got to tell people what's changed and what's likely to change over the next 6 months. The thing that doesn't work is for bureaucrats in Whitehall to try and plot and second-guess the endless changes, the day-to-day, week-by-week, month-by-month changes that families now have, particularly the time of economic recession, from an office in London. Let's make it more human, let's make it more understandable, and let's also not make people guilty for not paying money back to the government, when often, frankly, they couldn't have reasonably known that they should have been paying money back.
OK, Nick, we're just changing the subject totally. I just want to bring your attention to a couple of stories in the papers this morning. Out by June, UK plans to withdraw troops from Iraq. What's your take on that?
Well, I think many people in the country will be sighing a sigh of relief that we're finally getting out. I don't think we should have sent our brave soldiers into that war in the first place. We've wasted billions and billions of pounds on that at a time when I think we could have used that money better here at home.
OK, well, thanks for your views on both those stories. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks very much indeed for your texts and emails on the reforms to the welfare system. Mary in the West Midlands says, why do these people keep having more children? I'm sick of hearing such sob stories. And Mabs in London says, if some single parents rely on benefits, what future can their kids have if they don't go to work? So those are against the two ladies we heard earlier, but we've had lots in favour of them as well. Keep them coming, please.
Yep, do. Well, later this morning, Fiona and Andrew will be joined by Nigel Havers, who's spending the festive season being rather evil.
And after the break, we'll be talking toys as slow sales prompt massive discounts. Welcome back. 7 minutes to 7 is the time. It seems that the toy market is the latest to be hit by the economic downturn. With just under 2 weeks until Christmas, toy prices are being slashed in a bid to clear stock. Some supermarkets selling many of the toys below cost price. We'll be talking to Gary Grant from the Toy Retailers Association in just a tick, but first, here's Sarah Moore.
Tesco sparked the fierce sell-off, slashing the prices of hundreds of toys by up to 60%. Selfridges and Debenhams have responded by cutting the costs of some of their products by half. And even Hamleys is now running heavy discounts. Among the casualties are Wally, the Disney robot, and Hannah Montana microphones, both reduced by 50%. Industry experts say Tesco is trying to avoid being lumbered with excess toy stock after Christmas, but they claim sales are already up on last year. Meanwhile, the Toy Retailers Association is predicting a 5% seasonal downturn. So will the massive discounts be enough to buck the trend?
OK, joined now, as I said, by Gary Grant from the Toy Retailers Association, not Cary Grant, Gary Grant. Good to see you. Thanks very much. I must have had that a million times. I was so bored with that. But tell me, why is this happening? Why are people slashing prices?
Well, the industry had a very difficult November, and we were expecting December to be significantly better. It's been a slow start. I would expect December probably to be about 5% down. But 60% of our toys are sold in the last 12 weeks of the year. So if we have a huge carryover of stock, then it does impact on our ability to change our ranges for the new season.
So you want to get rid of this stuff now? Good news for the shoppers.
Very good. And it's not just Tesco's that are cutting prices. I mean, I think they've managed to get this high-profile publicity, but a lot of our other members, John Lewis's, Toys R Us, The Entertainer, they're all cutting prices. In fact, Tesco's range of about 800 lines is very narrow. Most toy shops will carry 3,000 to 5,000 lines.
So where does that leave the nice guy I'm going to see tomorrow to buy a little toy, £10 toy for a party I'm going to for some kids who will benefit from that kind of thing? Where does that leave him?
Where will it leave him?
Yeah, with all these guys discounting, all these big names discounting, where's it going to leave the small independent retailer?
Well, if you want to spend £10 on a toy, you'll probably end up with a £15 or £20 toy for your £10. The little lad who's going to get it is going to get better value for money with the product he's receiving.
So is he discounting too, even the little independent guy? Yeah.
Oh, yes. A lot of our independents are competing in the marketplace. I think there's more to buying a product, a toy, than just the price. You will get outstanding service in independent toy shops.
Can that small independent retailer afford a discount like that, or is he going to go out of business in February?
I think there will be a few independent retailers that are being squeezed, but I think there is more to buying a toy, particularly when you want advice. Going to an independent store, someone know how it works, will be able to advise you on the age, suitability for the product, whether it needs batteries. You're not going to get that in the supermarket.
Well, indeed not. I'm always supporting local business as well. Good to see you. Good to know you're still in business. Thanks very much
Thank you
for being with us. Have a good Christmas. Thanks very much indeed for all your texts and emails on the changes proposed to the benefit system. We've had a heck of a lot. As you know, most people will be forced to do something, either find a job or go into some kind of training under these proposals. And a contributor from Flintshire, Susan Judges, this is going to force people back into prostitution and crime.
It's quite a strong one, isn't it? Francine from Lincoln says, I'm a single mum. My children are 2 and 6 months, and I don't know why people would want to stay on benefits. I found it hard to pay for everything. I agree, people should have to go to work if there's no reason not to.
Yes, and Pat in Rotherham says, I've got a son who's been unemployed for 4 months. He's applied for at least 50 jobs with no replies or interviews. I'd like to know what the government's doing to try and find him and others like him some work.
And another lady, Kim, in South Shields, says she's a mum of 3 young children. She said it's difficult what the government are proposing about sending single parents to work because her son took ill one morning and she couldn't leave him, so she got sacked. She says people have come up with this plan, don't really know anything about real life and how hard it can be.
Well, as we indicated, the man responsible for this legislation, James Purnell, will be talking to GMTV a little bit later on. I'd love to know what you think. Text is on 67890. Text costs 25p plus your standard network charge. Full terms can be found at gm.tv/terms.
Yeah, we've had 1,000 emails already.
1,000, yes, already, which is
a great response. But
even by our standards, a lot.
Well, that's all from the news hour for now. Fiona and Andrew will pop in shortly for GMTV today. They're going to be talking to Jungle Joker, David Van Day.
And guess what? Kate Winslet will also be here. But we've also got Andrew, of course, with the weather.
GMTV weather, sponsored by Nestlé Shredded Wheat. Shredded wheat and hot milk. They're a perfect winter warm-up.
Hello there, it's another cold one. We're waking up to a frosty start for many. We do have some showers around. Let's take a look and see just where they are. You can see that we've just got 1 or 2 showers across eastern parts of Scotland and also just nudging their way down the North Sea in towards East Anglia. We've also got 1 or 2 just across western parts of Wales and into the southwest of England as well. So then for this morning, a very, very cold start to the day. As I say, most places will see frost. Temperatures overnight have dropped down to freezing or just below. So some of these showers that you're seeing here, maybe across the North York Moors, for example, could well be quite wintry. Some good sunny spells across southern Scotland, but northern Scotland seeing cloudier skies. It's helped keeping the temperatures up a little bit this morning. So too for parts of Northern Ireland, but away from that, you are seeing a bit of sunshine. And again, it's a mixture of sunshine and 1 or 2 showers for westernmost fringes of Wales and into Devon and Cornwall. For the Isles of Scilly, though, a little bit more cloudy for you, but again, that's helping keep the temperatures up a Away from that is going to be bright, crisp and cold. Now, part of the reason for all this cold weather that we've got is the winds are coming in from the north to the northwest, so especially down, say, northeastern Scotland, down that North Sea coast, it is going to feel particularly bitter if you are out and about, but elsewhere generally I think temperatures 4, 5, maybe 6 degrees if you're lucky. Now, looking ahead to the early hours of tomorrow morning, so through the night tonight, we'll continue to see these wintry showers scattered about, most places though seeing clear skies, and that in itself will lead to some freezing fog patches. It does mean that this time tomorrow could be fairly tricky on the roads, so if you are planning ahead, leave a little bit of extra time tomorrow if you are going to be heading out on the roads. Still seeing these wintry showers, same sort of areas, again anywhere from eastern Scotland, mainly over the higher ground, and so too for northeastern England and perhaps in across East Anglia. Dry, fine, bright and cold elsewhere. It'll start to change on Friday when we see more in the way of rain pushing in from the west. Here's your summary. Get a 5-day weather update for your postcode on our website, gm.tv.